Hi everybody, this is Renee Charles and I'm coming at you with another video. Ignore my nails. That is like number 20 on tonight's to-do list. You guys are way more important. I wanted to get a video out. I spent all day Sunday working on junk journaling. I took a day off for just me and played. And today I'm going to share the next video in my series of what not to do. So one of the things I'm discovering, this is my junk journal. This is my tassel, which I've added, I think, since the last video. I have a little charm, some ribbons, chain, whatever that I'm hanging stuff on. The journal itself, what I found is I got in a hurry and I sewed all my signatures in before I really had a plan for my pages. I thought that you went in and decorated them after the fact, right? Well, what I'm finding is you can do that, but it's not coming together as easily. You're decorating one page at a time, leaving space for journaling rather than doing 2 pages at a time, and I'll show you what I mean about that in a minute. But it's just not, it's not working. One of the reasons is because I love the sewing. Like, I put edging on this page because I love the sewing. Let me find the page that I see people doing around the edges of their paper. However, once you put it in the book, you're done. You can't sew around this stuff anymore. You have to sew it and then put it in. I mean, maybe you could run this through the sewing machine, but I wouldn't begin to know how. So I think it's probably much easier to do it beforehand. So the next junk journal that I'm working on is going to be a mermaid themed one. It's a gift. And I found these beautiful threads that I want to sew with. So what I figured out is, before I get this far, I'm going to show you the pages I've started working on for the next journal. I also, doesn't hurt to mention, in doing the order of stuff, I like to find the book first so I know how many signatures, and I found that finding the book first, I like to work within boundaries so that I know what size my pages are supposed to be. I mean, I did do smaller pages, but I like to know what the biggest is going to be so I can trim it and sew around the edges and stuff before I put it in. So I did pick the cover for the next book, and I picked something much thicker than this because this is only 3 signatures, and although I didn't intend it to be quite so chunky, she is, and a big part of it is this page. What not to do. I loved the flowers and stuff that I put on this page. However, these paper flowers, they take up so much space that a couple would have done me, even though, look how pretty that turned out, but a couple would have done. And I have this little tag here for a tuck spot, but a couple would have done just as well, and I would have less bulk this way and room for more stuff. You see what I'm saying? How much room that takes. Something to think about when you're putting your pages together. Anyhow, let's move on. This is my drying tray, which I learned from Linda Israel. She has a fantastic YouTube channel, and I'll go ahead and I'll put her in the links below because she's amazing, and I have learned so much binge watching her videos. You should follow her. But in the meantime, this is my drying tray, and these are my new pages. One of the things I wanted to do is I wanted to put colored papers. And once they're in the book, you can't really color them anymore, right? So I'm coloring papers before I put them in. I did do some tea dyeing or coffee dyeing of the pages in the other book, and I do not care for the way that turns out. So I tried doing some different things. I took this lined paper out of a composition book. Sorry about the wiggliness. I am holding the camera tonight just to get this video out. This is done with distressed ink spray bottles from Tim Holtz, which came out okay, you know, wetting your page and just a little bit of spritz. Then I tried wetting the page and doing a lot of spritz and moving the water around, and this is the effect I got, which is not bad, but I mean, it's still pretty. I've got some edging that's nice, especially since it's going to be a mermaid book. So getting those pages out of the way. So those are composition papers that I dyed. And you can still see the lines, so you can write on those. This is cardstock that I did the same thing with. And you can see the cardstock, it totally looks different. So I've been dyeing these papers. preparing them to do something with them before I get them in. This one I started gluing some stuff on the side. That's just a sequined ribbon I'm making a tuck spot. But see, I want to sew around this edge. I've glued it in place, but I want to sew around the edge. Sorry, I think the sun's setting, and that's why we're getting some coloring. I have the curtains open. But anyways, you get the idea. If I glue around the edge to hold it in place when I run it through the sewing machine, I think it will be a little easier. I saw that tip somewhere. I'm not sure where. But so I'm starting to kind of get what I'm going to do with some of these pages before I put them in. So that's just that. So here's a good example. This is too much, but it matched. So I wanted to make sure I got all the pieces in that matched. But I need to do this side as well. I think it's easier. What I found was this is when I was still doing it one page at a time. And it gets tricky doing it one page at a time. This is me doing it one page at a time, right? And I think, and they're in the tray they were in the tray the weekend I put a bunch of stuff in around the kitchen and stuff that was wet, and it was drying. And so when it was finally done dried, I threw it all in this bin so I'd know where it is. So this is when I started doing 2 pages at a time. Now I printed this out on craft paper, and then I started adding some shimmering glitter I painted on her with another tip from Linda Israel with the Tulips fabric paint, actually, and just went over some of the spots on her headdress and her bodice, and came out really pretty. And then I just printed. If I printed it all at once, it gave me something to build on. Now, I don't know what I'm doing with this side, but I figure if I get this side done, then I can move over to this side, and then I can set it aside, and it'll be ready to move into the next phase. This is when I was still doing 1 page at a time. I haven't obviously finished, but it's hard because once you get it wet, unless you have a drying tool to dry stuff with, once you get it wet, you have to set it aside and move on to something else, and that's why I have so many pages that are partially done. This page is complete, and I have to share because it's my favorite page so far. The one page I did really good on. So I'm going to pull it out. This has a tag that matches right with Journaling Spot. I have this little eyelash yarn, and then I got the Journaling Spot here and here. Now I haven't gone around. I haven't gone around with the Tim Holtz Distress ink around the edge. Really edges the paper. Now I'm going to do these in turquoise. I'll do this one in gold, but going around the edge really makes these white papers pop and look less, I want to say the word amateuristic, less plain, less homemade. It really puts that finishing touch when you go around the edges of the papers. I haven't done that yet. Oh, so like this. I did do it on this one. So this is a paper. I put this journaling card to make a pocket, and then I stamped this paper with some gold ink and Tim Holtz Distress ink together. Then I found this journaling card, and I stamped it to match so it would go in that pocket. Okay. Believe in miracles. So then I put that in there. But you see how I went around the edge of the paper? It really finishes it compared to this. You can see the difference. So this I need to still go around and do that with. But you get the idea. So having a plan for the pages makes a huge difference when you're preparing it. So anyways, I just wanted to share how I've adjusted my process, what not to do. Again, I went around the edge of this ripped paper before I glued it down, and I did the distressing, and it just makes all the difference. So who knew? If you're working on yours and you're wondering why it's not quite right, or if you're new to it and you're going, what is that thing that I'm not getting? That made a huge difference. Also doing the planning ahead. Don't get in a hurry to sew it into know what your spine is going to be, so you know how big your papers are going to be, and how I'm going to do 4 signatures because my spine is quite chunky on this book. And I know the size of the cover, so I know how big my papers can be. But I'm not going to get in a hurry to do the cover and paint it and sew it in and do all that stuff like I did with the other one. So anyways, I hope this helps. Happy journaling. Have a great day. Bye.